What you're looking at right here is my hobby desk, or it should be. Right now it's a mess. As with any surface in my entire life, it gets covered pretty quickly when I'm not using it. There are a couple things I want to do to make sure that I can use it. Overall, it's been pretty functional. It's at a decent height for me, could be a little higher, but decent height. It's got drawers and storage beneath. I've got a couple shelves for my mediums, my gessos, my glues, a couple paint things, a couple accessories. I've got paintbrushes, markers, mini painting. I do art pieces here, collages, mini painting, all sorts of stuff. And I recently installed these Sure flexible lights over top to provide perfect lighting for both the art itself. It's actually been really helpful for, but also for getting any sort of camera shots of it. As I kept seeing people get these really cheapo, what they called like halo lights, which are just basically like a single LED strip that their phone straps to that mounts over their desk. That looked really poor quality, and I wanted to do it up to more production standards. These have been really good for this. No major complaints there. The problem is they kind of get in the way, both of camera angles and functionality. And I think I want to start streaming mini painting. I haven't decided if I'm going to make formal mini painting videos on this channel, as it's a bit of a stretch away from what we traditionally do. But I definitely want to start streaming it a little bit. I've done it before when I had things in a different setup. I'm ready to start doing it again, which means I need to build a streaming setup here. So I have two main objectives for what we can accomplish within this singular video. The first is I picked up a whole bunch of these quasar tube lights. They go from tungsten to daylight, from like 6,000 Kelvin to like 2,000 something Kelvin. They need their own dimmer, so I bought this dimmer with a remote and then a 4-way power splitter, and I've already I bought 8 of these. They were on sale on B&H. They're normally like 200 bucks. They were $35. So I did 2 orders of 4 and then had to get the dimmers for them. Huge savings there. I already used 4 of them on my craft shelves in the back to give them a little bit of accent lighting, set dressing in case they ever show up, plus make it more functional for me to see. I want to try to position these up above my little man-made wall here, maybe 2 up there and 2 down the side, both to give me some kind of key light for myself for the camera angle we're gonna be trying to do here, as well as maybe light the desk a little bit better. So the ones in the back on the craft shelves, I set to tungsten, 3200 Kelvin. I'd give some nice accent because I usually shoot everything daylight. This I want to match in case I have to leave these up and for filming and everything. So these are set to 5600 Kelvin. They just got a little dial on the front. I've got some basic wire wrap, some that I can wrap around, put a screw through, got the hardware for it. We're gonna start with that. The second objective is to set up the streaming setup, and I want a 3-cam multicam setup. So overhead cam, face cam, and then like a close-up kind of macro cam maybe, because mini painting is like really small. The problem is I sold off all my extra like mirrorless cameras and good cameras. So we are using scraps here. I've got some weird cameras you're gonna see, and I got an interesting solution for the multicam. But first we're gonna try to tackle these lights. So like I said, these are some thick boys. I have some conduit clamps, but I don't think they're big enough for that. So we're gonna make our own with this basic, just punched out little strips here. And we're gonna screw them in, get them wired up to the dimmer. It comes with a remote, so I can control it remotely. And we'll go from there. Oh yeah, one of the things in the space as I'm cleaning things off of here are my new photo books. I have photo books of photos I've taken during autumn, or mostly autumn themed, since like 2007. First time doing a photo book thing. I mostly made it for family, for Christmas, but I have a whole bunch. I ordered in like a batch of 10, so I still have a couple left. A couple of you have already purchased it on the shop. Incredible, huge thank you for that. If you want to grab the last couple, just let me know. It's available on the shop, so you can just place an order. If there is enough demand, like if the rest of them go pretty quickly, because I haven't really announced them in a video or anything, if they go pretty quickly, I can order more of them. I just didn't want to buy a whole bunch and then be stuck with them, because that never feels good. So I got like 5 left, I think, that I can actually part ways with. So those will be listed on the shop, linked down below if you're interested. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I gotta be careful. My cat's food and water bowls are underneath the table because that was the only place to put them. All right, once the fans stop, I can start hanging. The smart way, the easy way, I don't know which, would be to get them hanging on the side first. figure out any quirks with the process that way. Now the problem is, if I do this, I'm also planning on mounting a camera here. So the camera may clip the lights and make some weird shadows. But I think I have to live with it. If we do the first one as high up as we can go, and then the second one beneath it, it should be enough light, I'm hoping. I take this clamp off. All right, so I need just enough length to get around and then clamp into something, which is gonna be about that much. So I'm just taking this punched wire strips, cutting them to length. They're pretty durable, but if you start, bending them side to side, you can actually break them pretty easy. They heat up a lot when you do it, which is wild to feel. Because it's not like I'm exerting a ton of force on them here, but yet they get super warm to the touch when you do this. I also have some big O wire clippers I can just, or not. Yeah, that did it. All right, so I'm gonna need maybe just one. I'm gonna do two each. That's a little overkill. Like they could just hang with one. But we'll play it safe here. So I'm gonna cut 5 because it's gonna be 2 for the 2 that I'm hanging, and then 1 to start my measurements for the overhead ones. Sure, this is riveting video content here. All right, so I've got small screws. I've got a set of washers just to be safe. Literally just right into the side of this wood piece, holding it up. Not screwing into power cables ideally. I'd like to not get electrocuted today. Maybe another day though. Yeah, one might do it. We'll go with one for now. We can add the second one because I don't really know where it's gonna screw into yet. Because it's not solid on the other side of this wood. There's a gap between the walls. So we'll just go with the one for now. I also don't know where this one's gonna screw into though, so there's that. Don't have the leverage. There we go. It's not exactly facing the right angle, but because of where the cord is, it's not gonna be able to. All right, so that's the two side ones. I think with the cord extension, should be fine. We can at least get one up top. I don't know about two, honestly. We'll see here. I don't know if because I have a computer monitor up here. I don't know if the cord will, or if the light will cooperate with that, honestly. Power brick up here. Decorative thing, which isn't important. We can take that down for now. Power brick is, important for power. Novel concept, but it can fall down the hole, I guess. Whoops. All right, I'm gonna get This started, and then I'm gonna need a second one. For sure. That is precarious. Not even remotely even, but it's not really a priority here. I wouldn't say. All right, that's 3. We have 3 lights up. I guess I could do the last one. I don't know what else I would do with it if I don't put it here, so I might as well get the extra light out of it. All right, all 4 lights are attached to the wall. Now we need power. And to each of them. Just need to get the power brick back up here so I can plug the dimmer in. Okay. And check the temperature on one of the lights. It's yellow up here. Yikes. Now I can't reach the... All right. Well, a Hollywood level production designer or set builder, I am not. But oh, it's blinding. I think it works. That gets super bright. Holy cow, Batman. All right, let's try it without these. You know, I do have more shadows. Like this was a very shadow removing thing, but I think it works. Yeah, obviously it's way too bright for the camera angle as it is, but I am pretty stoked with that. And having remote control over all the brightness is very helpful. I think that light is still a little too yellow, but we'll get to it. Turn this back on. All right. Well, sick. That was really easy. I'm gonna clear out all the tools and we will start building the stream setup. I am excited. All right, now it's time to build a streaming setup we can actually stream with. There's a problem with that. I want to do a multicam setup where I have a camera on my face, a camera overhead that you can see what I'm doing, and another camera that I can move around or get really close to what I'm doing so that you can see the finer details. Because often I'm painting statues or tiny D&D minis or just little crafts, and I want you to be able to get a really good view of it. Now, something I constantly run into is I can't just have 4 million different streaming PCs. I can. I have the hardware. I have the know-how. But trying to keep different OBS installations and graphics packages and streamer bot configs, all of that in sync is a nightmare. And I don't really have the budget to do big SDI cable runs. Maybe if I was using broadcast cams to run everything over to the stream PC and just control it all in one place, that would be the ideal scenario. I'll point you to this studio tour from Miniac on his mini painting streaming setup where he has box cameras and SDI runs and really amazing. This is a no budget situation. I am building a stream setup with what I have laying around, which isn't much these days. But one of the things I do have laying around is the RØDECASTER video. And I know, I've got this very expensive video mixer laying around. I understand. I know. But this thing was sent to me for review. I think we're approaching the 2-year mark since I was sent it for review. I was actually invited to fly out to like New York or something to cover the launch, and I couldn't do that. And then they sent it for me for review, and uncharacteristic of me, especially for something I was excited for, it has stayed in the box. It got lost in the black hole of burnout. Combined with the fact that it's something a little complex that I have to reconfigure my entire setup to really utilize and use in a real world scenario, which is not what you want to do in my kind of line of work, I just never got to it. This is a perfect use case for it, so we're finally checking it out. This is from the company Rode that makes microphones, audio mixers. I use the RØDECASTER Duo still at my desk for my primary audio mixer. Except instead of just audio, it mixes video as well. It supports multiple HDMI inputs for cameras, which is bananas. If we get this open here, I don't have a knife on hand for some reason, because I don't need one. Fingernails of steel. All right. This thing works with your computer, but it also works with your iPad. It also says made for iPhone, iPad, and iPod. I'm gonna say doubt. This thing was only released a couple years ago. There's no iPods that are supporting video mixing. I will say that. So we have 4 HDMI inputs, 2 HDMI outputs for previews. We've got an assortment of 5 USB-C ports. That gets pretty bananas. 2 XLR inputs, dual 1/4 inch outputs for headphones and for speakers and all that jazz, as well as networking. This gets bananas. I'm going to honestly, it even has Wi-Fi. I'm honestly not going to use as much of this as it supports, and we're not gonna have an in-depth coverage of all that, because I just don't have it in me to tear down everything I use to build a setup for it. But this thing is pretty incredible if you can get past the fact that your output resolution limit is still HD. It's not 4K. But as a competitor to the Blackmagic ATEM line of products, insane rack of inputs and outputs there. Like, Jesus. USB inputs for microphones and for webcams, which is bananas. USB for data, 2 for computers, 4 HDMI for inputs, which we will be utilizing, micro SD for local recording, USB power input, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. So you could connect to like the Rode Wireless Go or Pro mic set, I'm pretty sure. We're gonna be using this fairly minimally. This is built really nice. It's got VESA mounting on the back. So we will absolutely be picking up a VESA plate for this to mount it to the side of my table here. I do not have that for this video. So instead of trying to, it comes with 1 USB-C cable, thank goodness, a power supply, because it does need 65 watts of USB PD, and it comes with Wi-Fi antenna, which I will install on it just to keep them out of the way. So the goal here is, since I can't run all of my cameras to the streaming PC, I'm gonna run all my cameras to this mixer. I'm gonna mix it on my giant TV setup behind me locally on, I have an Intel NUC here that I've used to record the GoPro over here and a few things. I'm gonna mix everything locally here and use a protocol called SRT over Ethernet to send a mostly like lossless style signal, probably HEVC encoded, but like very, very high quality signal over to my stream PC to integrate into my layouts and all of my normal stream stuff. So it will still be streaming from my beefy stream rig, but it'll be mixed and processed over here on this computer, which should be pretty nice. So I did not know about the VESA mounting. That is gonna be great, because that allows me, I have my RØDECASTER Duo mounted on my desk over here on just a basic friction arm, because I have a plate for it. I'm gonna do the same thing with this, so I can just have it mixed off my desk, because I need as much desk space here for the crafting side of things as possible. So that is the heart of what we are using here, is this RØDECASTER video. So we're gonna have this on the desk. I'll go on and get the power ready to go. For cameras, I have an overhead PTZ Optics PT Studio Pro. Despite being from PTZ Optics, it does not support pan and tilt. It is just a zoom camera. The quality is not great for how expensive PTZ Optics cams is. I am fairly disappointed. It's a basic HD kind of network cam. I have used it over NDI for a very long time, but delay, quality issues, whatever. I want to be able to just have it all locally here in the one setup. And so I'm going to be running its HDMI output. And I have a little monitor attached to it so I can preview what I'm doing. HDMI out from the monitor will go to this RØDECASTER video. So that's the overhead camera. PTZ Optics zoom cam has a remote so I can has optical zoom in down to what I'm doing. The A cam for my face is going to be something ridiculous. So before we set up the video mixer, I do need to set up the camera. And you're going to laugh. This right here is the Canon EOS C100. Not the Mark II with the fancy 4K sensor and that like Hardware Connect's used for a long time. This is the original one. It records in 1080i. It does do a 1080p mode, but it's baked into a 1080i signal. This is a very expensive cinema camera for its day. These days, it's pretty cheap. You can get it pretty cheap. I put a 14mm 2.8 lens on it. And since I have nothing else to do with this camera, it's going to be my face cam. Overkill? Yes. Incredible? Why not? I don't have a lot of space to work with in this setup. My attic entrance is right above here. I have this TV. I don't have room to move a whole lot around. So to get the camera working in the setup, we're using the old classic Elgato multi-mount, desk mount. I had to move my desk leg over like 6 inches so that it could actually clamp to something, because if you try to use it too low, it just fell if I tried to use it fully extended over the wood. So I've got multi-mount here ready to lock and go for the camera itself. And as I mentioned before, we are going to run into some trouble with it sort of fighting the light. So I am worried about that. It's going to take me a minute to tighten all this up. And then the camera itself just has a basic 1/4-20 tap on the bottom, but it is towards the front, so it sticks out quite a few inches here. There is a spider on this thing. Big old daddy long legs. Spiders have absolutely taken over my studio this year. That's what happens when you build a studio in a garage. Just be warned. I'm hoping the multi-mount supports the weight. I've had good luck historically, but then anytime I kind of expect it to hold all the weight that I want, I run into trouble. This is where a good Arca Swiss plate would actually come in handy. Yeah, I'm not going to have it. Traditionally in this kind of setup, especially if you want to be able to take the camera off, you would use what's called a quick release plate and a clamp. And I screw the clamp on the multi-mount and then the plate on the camera, and then I can more easily mount it. I am all out of clamps at the moment. So unfortunately, we're going to do this the hard way. And try to keep it parallel with the mount and attach it, which is never a good time. Oh, but I think I got it threaded. Nice. All right. So camera will be pointed somewhere like this. It does not have a flip out screen. It barely flips up at all, but it will be pointed mostly this way at me. The camera, despite its age, does support HDMI out. With the RØDECASTER, they did send me all these fancy, colorful HDMI cables. So I don't know why they're bagged in this way, but I guess green will be our A cam, and that will go into input 1. These are some fancy Rode HDMI cables. Obviously, you don't need their specific HDMI cable, but it's fine. HDMI port is on the opposite end of the camera here. Urgh. Now we will need to see how the RØDECASTER plays with the interlaced output of this camera, but I'm going to go ahead and plug it into input 1. All right. I will need the power supply for that camera, which I believe is this bad boy. Okay. Now I need HDMI from my overhead camera here. So up here I have the PTZ Optics Studio Pro, a little light that was my only light for a while. And then it's connected to this monitor. This thing is also spiderwebbed to hell. We'll get it all cleaned up now that we're actually using this stuff again. And the monitor is powered off the same power supply as the camera, accepts the input from the camera and gives me an overhead preview while I'm working so that I can more easily see what's in the frame. It is completely off axis in terms of being straight with the desk now. Probably needs to be more like that. And then we'll grab another HDMI cable, this time orange. They just gave me like a rainbow lot here. And we will go from the HDMI out of the monitor to input 2 on the RØDECASTER. We'll loop it up over with the lights. This is just a basic yo-yo monitor. I think I've covered it in a video before. Just basic knockoff field monitor. I guess not knockoff, but you know, one of those goofy name Chinese brand field monitors. Doesn't have a whole lot of special features or color grading tools or anything, but good enough to monitor my video. All right, and that will be input 2. And then lastly, we don't get to use the Rode cable for that, even though they had a nice purple one. For the time being, my up-close camera is actually going to be this GoPro Hero 6 Black. Supports 4K, supports 4x3 modes, which is nice. Has micro HDMI and USB-C for power. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with this. It's obviously not the best macro cam, blah, 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 but it does have a nice close focus and wide angle that I can get really kind of up on my thing. So for that, I know this is a mess of cables that's kind of hard to discern right now. I have a clamp that goes to a GoPro mount. This has already been hooked up where I had the GoPro run previously. And the HDMI for the GoPro actually ran into one of those cheapo can't link USB capture cards before. So I'll just pull that out, try to untangle it from this mess here. And this one is going to be mounted kind of in the desk setup here. If I can, maybe just off to the side of the normal camera mount for now. This is something I want the option of kind of moving as I go, which will be a little difficult because it does run off of USB-C power. But then I can take the GoPro, strap it in right here, and get it like super low to the desk if I need to. Can get it like right down there. Plug in USB and micro HDMI. And then the micro HDMI cable loops around into HDMI 3 on the RØDECASTER. All right, now that all of that is connected, I'll plug the camera and the RØDECASTER into power. This is obviously very temporary. I will be getting that VESA mount for the RØDECASTER, and then I'll do my real cable management. But this should give us a demo of what things will look like, ideally. Got to get the Canon C100 powered on. So to control things while I'm waiting on this, I have a Stream Deck Plus that I can get mounted with a clamp mount as well over time. And I'm also going to implement an Elgato foot pedal. Showcase this in my review. This is one of my favorite things they've released because it takes the Stream Deck thing, says screw it to the flashy screens and everything else, and just lets you switch things with your foot. And if I'm going to be hunched over this desk, crafting or painting or what have you, I want the option of quickly switching camera angles with my feet. So that's just going to go right in the middle under the desk. And then I also have a 7-inch or 5-inch, I'm not sure which, Raspberry Pi style HDMI touchscreen that I'm going to implement with the new Stream Deck software that allows you to set up virtual Stream Decks on a screen. All of this will be showcased in a future video. Let me know if you want to see that in the comments below. That's a little too much for this one. This one's mostly about the hardware setup. This is really freaking cool. Okay, so again, obviously, I'm going to have to do a part 2 where I do the setup of everything else and the cable management and the rest of the control. But like, We've got our A cam set up here. Had to set it to 30 FPS progressive output so I don't get interlacing artifacts. There's a little bit of a delay, but input 1, A cam while I'm talking to the camera. Input 2, overhead. You know, painting on my minis and whatever. Can zoom it in once I find the remote. It was here. I have it somewhere. Number 3 is for the GoPro, which is right here, and I can move it anywhere. I could actually have it be like a first-person view kind of over here, or it can just be this weird side angle. But like even if I get stuff up close to the camera, like it's pretty slick. So I think once we get the Stream Deck, the RØDECASTER and stuff mounted over here, and the Stream Deck pedal set up, like this is gonna be a great little setup. Autofocus on this camera is not working out spectacularly, but I mean, I can just set it about there. And then I've got this stupid expensive chair that I can sit on the back on so that I am supported. When I climb over here, start painting, crafting, whatever, ready to go. I am overjoyed. I have to play with focus. I think that's pretty good. This is bananas. Like, whoop, 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 whoop. I can do fades. I can do cuts. I can probably set up other transitions. And I've even got a multi-view on the HDMI output. So if I set to HDMI 4 or 3, yeah. I can see the so like if I'm doing the overhead, I can get a really clear view and not just rely on the overhead one, although that one's fine. But like, if I needed a multi-view here, I have it available as well on top of the OBS preview. But I'll probably have OBS pulled up so that I can keep chat up and things like that as well. Like I said, still got some stuff to do, but this is amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I've been wanting to get this done for a long time. If we switch back to this view here, I can, with the lights obviously make a huge difference. I'm gonna turn that one off. Might actually need to turn them down a bit for my current exposure settings. Probably about there. Probably turn this one off. Yeah, that's looking better. Turn that back up now. And then if I switch over to overhead, that's still a little moody. I might want the extra light from over here. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll get a smaller tube that just runs the edge. I don't know. I don't want to get long shadows. We get a little bit of shadowing here, but not a ton. Whereas if I turn it off, it's just kind of dark, and to compensate on that would be annoying. What about the overhead though? Is the overhead enough to do it? Actually, it does kind of make a difference. I'm not sure yet. Either way, I am super stoked with this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to be kind, rewind.